Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for the launch of Contemporary Issues in Mediation Volume 5. My name is Marcus and I'm the CEO of the Singapore International Mediation Institute, the organizer of the essay competition from which the essays for this book series is taken from. I'm also one of the co-editors for the volume together with the chair of the Singapore International Mediation Institute, Professor Joe Lee. We also have a co-editor, a guest editor for this volume 5, Professor Dorcas Quek from the Singapore Management University. So for this launch, what we'd like to do is share with all of you a little bit more about how this project came about, the history behind the volume, and also to thank the important people and organizations that made it all possible. So first and foremost, of course, this book is driven by the efforts of the Singapore International Mediation Institute, or SIMI, and also by the cooperation from our publishers, World Scientific. If not for WSPC's support, this book project would not be possible, and we're very, very grateful to their ongoing support all the way from Volume 1 up to Volume 5. Over at SIMI, we're very happy to share that this project was led by Professor Joe Lee, myself, as well as the support from Jessica, who works at SIMI as the head of special projects, Mr. Fang Kian Yip, who is assisting SIMI as head of our standards and research, and also our consultant, Ms. Tan Su. Over at World Scientific, we're very grateful to Mr. Chua Hong Kun, who has been pushing the project and leading it, along with the support shown to us by Ms. Tay Yushan. Now, not many of you will know this, but this is actually the 5th volume in the series, and this is an ongoing effort to create more opportunities for young professionals, students who are interested in mediation to be published, because we felt that, 5 years ago, I was having a lunch with Joe, and we said there are many good essays and research writing done by many young students in universities, but these are often not published in journals because those are peer-reviewed. So we said, what a pity. Wouldn't it be great if there was a way for these writings to be published, and maybe that will also inspire them, the winners of the essay competition, to continue writing and researching and further their passion and interest in mediation. So that's how the first volume was started. We are very, very lucky that we also managed to get a foreword done by William Ury, and that's featured in every single one of the books as a foreword to the entire series. So this year we have volume 5, and as I said earlier, we do have the privilege of having a guest editor with us, Professor Dorcas Quek Anderson, who is now going to give a speech on behalf of all the editors for this volume. So Professor Dorcas, please.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thanks,
Good
Dorcas.
evening. Good evening to all of you. See people I know, and that's why they say hi. Too bad we can't meet face to face. But as Marcus said, yeah, it's at least we have some way to have us connected. So just like to congratulate everyone who are authors. I can see your faces in the virtual background, and it was a joy for me to read all these essays of yours, and I think together with Joe as well as Marcus, lots of hard work actually by Sue, which I want to acknowledge Sue as well, who is working with SIMI, who helped us to put this together. Yep. So I think that the scope of topics covered is really wide, and I really like to commend you for really exploring the idea of mediation in such a wide range of contexts. Yeah, so we have say relational self-construal, which is a psychological concept. We have mediations in the religious context, right? In terms of the other contexts, they are beyond Singapore with international commercial mediation. There's the essay about Singapore Convention, armed conflicts, investor-state disputes, court mediation, disputes between foreign domestic workers and their employers. And of course, the one very timely topic is about the impact of AI on mediation. Yep. So, and not to forget the very important foundational aspects of mediation. I am glad to see also that many of you have written on aspects like power imbalances, which are still very relevant now. How to encourage good faith participation in mediation, the age-old issue of mandatory mediation, and as well as confidentiality in mediation. Yep. So we are very impressed with the quality of your essays, and I'd just like to encourage you, even though, as Marcus said, it might have started off as research papers, but I could see the palpable interest that you had, even though it was part of a research paper initially. So I would like to encourage you to continue pursuing those thoughts, and also to continue, if you have the opportunity, to really pursue mediation in whatever capacity in the future. I also like to thank, as Marcus said, World Scientific Publishing Company. As he mentioned, they have been giving unwavering support for the past 5 volumes and gave lots of coverage as a result. So we look forward to see where this takes all your essays. I won't speak for very much long because I think the stars are really all of you, not so much. I won't bore you with my speech. But I'd just like to say in closing, as you know, I'm teaching in Singapore Management University it's actually been 4 years. Yeah, I've just started my 5th year. Before that, I was working in the state courts as well as in Supreme Court. So looking back, I'd just like to share something which as I look back on my mediation journey, I actually did pen some of those thoughts in this book called Letters of Law. So those letters are written like to your former self. Right? Imagine you're writing to yourselves when you were a law student. Yeah. So I think some of the lessons, I'll just read a few passages if you don't mind. So this was a letter which I wrote to myself when I had just graduated from law school. So at that time it was NUS because there's no SMU then. So you can guess that I'm not that young, unfortunately. Right. So at that time, as time would have it, it was actually when I graduated during my last exam, that was the time of SARS, right, which also was a pandemic. And there was such a somber mood in university as we had to take precautions in the vigilation hall. And I recall the heart-wrenching moment when my dad, he's a general practitioner, he shared that he almost had to be quarantined because of potential contact with an infected patient. Yeah, so, and we were also feeling lonely and disappointed because I think, as you well might recall, SARS at that time was more deadly, maybe not so widespread, but there were a few deaths in Singapore. So because my dad was a general practitioner, some people, close friends, actually shunned us because, the danger that we had. So it was a low point in my life, but this is where I want to read out what I learned. It dawned on you that there are other things that truly mattered in this life: kindness, relationships, influencing others for good. You're reminded of why you decided to enroll in law school. Although you initially thought that lawyers had a bad reputation, you changed your mind after observing how two close family friends practice law. You're convinced that you could use your legal knowledge and skills to help others in their time of need. Yeah, so then fast forward, you will see on hindsight how these lessons will be reinforced and guide your future decisions. And this is where my journey in mediation started. So I quote, "It will surprise you to see how you stumble upon the mediation process by accident in your early career and discover an affinity with it because of how it coheres with peacemaking." And then thereafter, you'll find yourself using your interest in the State's Court Center for Dispute Resolution and subsequently in academia. In your initial years of mediating, you feel demoralized when some disputes are not settled. However, you learn that how you mediate is much more important than the neat settlement outcome. Even if the dispute is not settled, a person may well have been encouraged by your efforts to listen and to work out potential solutions with him or her. The positive impact on just one person, although intangible, is an invaluable outcome in God's eyes. You also have the privilege to learn about other struggles as you meet people from all walks of life in your mediations. The severely injured foreign worker who has no hope of future employment, the family that's embroiled in intractable conflict, the defendant who struggles to support his family each month. And you realize you have been given precious opportunities to identify with, with, uh, with others' sorrows, even for a short while, and to play a part in helping them attain closure. In the personal struggles you encounter, you'll be thankful to know how it feels weak to be helpless, as these struggles help you to empathize with fellow sufferers. Surprisingly, the difficulties will probably make you a better mediator. Yeah, so as I read through some of these things, yes, nostalgia did strike, but it reminded me of why I entered mediation, and I hoped that it also would inspire you. After writing, I spent a whole day writing a paper today. I realized that after teaching or writing about it is actually quite important and most challenging actually to apply it in my own life. So that does not remain merely a theory, but it's something that the underlying principles are actually still worked out. Very intangible things you realize, things not so much about settlement outcome, but the process and how you have actually mediated matters most of all. So on that note, I hope and I wish you all the best. I hope that you'll continue to pursue this journey beyond what you have written. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorcas. Thank you very much. Next up, we would like to invite Yang Si, who is actually the winner of the Volume 5. So those of you who don't know, the way that we select the winners is that it's an essay competition. And so we pick the top two winners, and these are featured in the book along with 8 to 10 other entries. So Yangtze was ranked the highest essay for this batch. It doesn't mean that the other essays aren't good. It's just that, we had to give some incentive for the contributors to, aspire to greater heights. But all of the essays are very, very well written. And Yangtze has kindly agreed to say a few words on behalf of the authors. So Yangtze, could I invite you to take over the mic?
Yes, thanks, Marcus. Hi, everyone. A very good evening to all of you who are present at the book launch today. So, as Marcus has said earlier, I've been very graciously invited by the CIIM team to say a few words. So, the first and most important thing that I wish to do right now, and on behalf of the other authors, is to give a huge shout out to Professor Jolie and Mr. Marcus Lim, the editors, for leading the Contemporary Issues in Mediation book series over the last 5 volumes. So CIIM is a product of their vision right from the start that students, regardless of their age and experience, have something to offer in the field of mediation. And this is something that I fully agree with. Perhaps what I want to offer the audience today is my personal take on mediation. And this is coming from me as a junior legal professional, which most of you will soon become, as I understand that there are participants from the IMSG here. So to me, the crux of mediation lies in having effective social interactions and how to manage them. And I believe that this is a very useful and transferable skill to have, even as a junior lawyer. So I can share with you what happened to me just this week alone. So 2 days ago, right before a court document was to be submitted, there was a surprise phone call with the opposing counsel. The opposing counsel insisted to edit the court document in a certain way, which would be very unfavorable to me. So long story short, over the phone call, even though I did not agree with him, I treated him with patience and respect, and I managed to bring out his underlying interests. And subsequently, we managed to resolve the matter in a very mutually beneficial way, and this left the both of us feeling good about. Most importantly, I thought that our professional relationship remains civil, and this is especially important in the legal industry as everyone knows one another. So I hope today that my little story has shown that you do not need to be in a proper mediation setting to use your mediation skills. It can happen anytime. And even as a junior lawyer, you can use your skills to achieve a very favorable outcome for all parties concerned. And lastly, on behalf of the other authors, I would also like to register our greatest thanks and appreciation to the publishers, World Scientific Publishing, and their representatives here today. Your immense support of the CIIM book series, all this while, is testament to your continued commitment to academia and to our student communities. And I look forward to reading Volume 5. Thank you.
Thanks, Yangtze. I also like to acknowledge two people who have given of their time to support this project. Well, maybe three. One of them is William Urey, who actually wrote the foreword to the book. Those of you who are familiar with his work, Getting to Yes, among others, will know that he's quite the leader in this field, and he has been, cited often as one of the, the modern rise of collaborative interest-based negotiation and mediation. So we're very, very happy that he agreed to write the foreword for the entire series, which we are now able to feature in the start of every book. The other two people that I want to mention, and one of them is here with us today. I see Michel, you're here with us, Michel Kallipetis. He agreed to write an endorsement for the book. So thank you very much for joining us and for supporting the work of the students. We have another endorser, Mr. Geoff Sharp, who unfortunately, however, is not able to join us this evening. But we do want to acknowledge his efforts as well as being a supporter for the book. So thank you very much to all these individuals. Now, since you've actually heard
excuse me, I've just popped in from my mediation to say hello and well done to everybody, and keep up the good work, and congratulations to the winner. And forgive me if I duck back now. The parties, I'm afraid I've got to sort out a dispute. But very nice to see you all. I wish I could be there in person. Perhaps one day soon. Take care.
Thank you, Michel. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a best mediation. So that was completely unscripted, and we are very lucky that he could join us in the middle of his mediation, showing you just how much passion all of these mediators still have. Years on, in the middle of their case, they would actually still make the time to come and just join a book launch. So, it's a positive example. I'm very glad to have his support. Now, next on the agenda for this evening is that we would like to just say a few words about each author and their essay. Now, you could obviously get the book on your own, but since tonight is their night, we want to give you a just quick soundbite, maybe one line about what their essay was about. And here is where I'm going to invite Sue, who has been completely critical, instrumental, foundational. I will run out of words if I were using a thesaurus, to the entire series, because she's been the one who has been pushing all of the administration, making sure that the co-editors are on time, chasing us, and he's really, really, she has really, really made a huge effort to making this book published on time. Those of you who have ever worked with academics, and in this sense, I would put myself in that category, know that we are always behind our deadlines because there's so many things to keep on top of. So very much big thanks to Sue for helping us to make this book project a reality for this year.
Hi, everyone. So I've magically become Marcus, but no, it's me, Sue. And yeah, it's really nice to meet everyone. I'm the one who's been emailing all of you. Thank you for putting up with my emails and for being so responsive. I really appreciate it. And so, you know what we're gonna do is just briefly introduce all the authors, like Marcus said, and really just to recognize all your hard work. So if you just give me a second. Okay, so first up, we have Yang Si, who just spoke to us. And so his essay is Imagine Me and You, Assessing Relationships in Singapore. And I think Dorcas mentioned this earlier, but it's about the relationship self-construal. And he talked about the divide between the East and the West, and how people in these different parts of the world see relationships and and how they affect mediation. And so it's really insightful, and yep, really good job, Yang Si. And if I could invite everyone to give him a round of applause. Okay, so next, chapter 2, we have Ishita. And so Ishita's essay is on religious disputes and mediation, and it's a really interesting essay about the Babri Mosque in India. And so it's something that I didn't know about earlier, but what she talks about is whether mediation can resolve religious disputes when there's so much emotion involved, there's so many differing worldviews when people have different religions. So it was also really, really interesting to read. So yeah, good job, Ishita. Thanks so much. And Ishita was actually the runner-up to CIIM 5. Okay, next we have Celine's essay, which is about the Singapore Convention on Mediation, International Commercial Mediation on her own 2 feet. So I think this essay is really relevant, especially now that the Singapore Convention of Mediation has very recently come into force, just a few months ago. And so Celine really delves into the issues as to why we had this mediation convention in the first place. She does try to question a little bit like the reasons as to why it came about. So I think it really makes you think, is it really just for mediation for its own sake? Yeah, so I think it's really relevant, and it's a great essay. Next, we have Eden, and this is about, so the title is Mediation in Armed Conflict, reflecting on the changing landscape of armed conflict, parties' motivations, and its impact on peaceful resolution. And so I found this really fascinating also because it was like a unique insight into an area I really didn't know much about. I know Eden does a lot of research into like international law. And so this essay is about international humanitarian law as well as armed conflict. And it questions whether mediation is suitable for resolving these disputes. So next, we have a call for a renewal of investor-state mediation by Florent. I don't think Florent is here with us now, unfortunately, but so this was about investor-state mediation, and I think a lot of us know about investor-state arbitration. So I think he was also questioning, why is it that mediation is not as popular, and the reasons for this, even though they were both introduced at the same time. Next, we have Werner's essay on, it's called Mediator Become Human. What can and should artificial intelligence do in mediation? So he talks about, AI and whether AI can really replace a mediator and all those human aspects that a human mediator brings to the table. And I think this is super relevant, especially now with COVID. We have, and the rise of online dispute resolution. So, can AI really replace this? And I thought that's really relevant now. Next, we have Hidayat's essay, Taking Power and Balance at its Extreme, a case study of foreign domestic workers in Singapore. So this also talks about power imbalances, and it's specifically in the case study of foreign domestic workers. And again, this is relevant in a slightly different way, especially in light of recent news cases. For those who are not in Singapore, we do have some cases right now involving foreign domestic workers that are quite in the spotlight. And so this really sheds light on their plight and the power imbalances they face. So I think it's really great. Next, we have Leanne's essay. It's the power of mediation, exploring mediation's approach to power imbalances. So the themes are quite similar to Hidayat's essay on power imbalances, but I think Leanne takes it from a much more academic point of view. And it's really, really interesting because she goes further to question, what exactly are these different aspects to power imbalances and what is power even? So it's really intellectually stimulating and All right, next we have Shalini's essay, A Critical Analysis of Mandatory Mediation in the Family Justice Courts in Singapore. So she talks about in the family justice courts, whether this mandatory mediation, how does it link to the family justice courts? Is it slightly contradictory that we even have mandatory mediation in the first place? And how much does it improve and benefit the parties who go to the family justice courts? Next, we have Terence's essay, Mediation Confidentiality, Authentic or Delusory. So I think he talks about mediation confidentiality in the context of legislation in Singapore. He says that there are many different types of pieces of legislation talking about confidentiality, and he tries to advocate and suggest ways to really bring these together and to make a framework that is more cohesive. Next, we have Samuel's essay. It's also on mandatory mediation, similar to Shalini's. So I think, again, his is a bit more academic, a more academic point of view. And so again, it's questioning these seemingly contradictions in mediation, because the whole point of mediation is that it's voluntary, that parties are there willingly and voluntarily. So if you make it mandatory, how does this affect interest-based mediation? And does it really undermine the whole point of mediation at all? And last but not least, we have Walter's essay, and he analyzes the case, Toshin, which talks a lot about good faith in mediation. And he offers a framework for us to understand, how exactly can counsels and mediation advocates in mediation apply good faith because he says that right now the guidelines are a little unclear. So yeah, it's also great essays, 12 great essays. Oh, good job, Walter. So yeah, 12 really good essays. I really enjoyed reading all of them multiple times. Congratulations to everyone. And I'm going to pass the time back to Marcus now.
All right, thank you, Sue. That's right. We are practicing safe distancing. So there's actually a ruler type between me and Sue, so that we'll never bump into each other, right? And that ruler is 2 meters long. So anyway, moving on, you can you can purchase copies of CIIM 5 directly from World Scientific Publishing Company's website. You can also get it on Amazon, Kino, or NUS Co-op. For our friends who are international, you probably want to try Amazon or World Scientific site. World Scientific has a great they had WSPC, they have a great distribution network set up. So almost literally wherever you are, they'll be able to get a copy of the book to you. There's also e-copies available, so you can actually download the chapters as you prefer. and you can also purchase the entire ebook if you like. So there's many, options to, get involved in collecting this on your library of must-reads for mediation. So we're really, really very fortunate to have a great bumper crop of essays this year. Okay, so with that, that comes to the last part, but definitely one of the most important parts of the book launch, which is we'd like to take a photo of everyone. So what we're going to do is, and I'm sure all of you have done this by now, if your computer supports this, do put on the virtual background that Sue has designed. If it doesn't, that's okay. And we're going to take a group photo. So let me just check. Sue, are you taking the photo? Levine's taking, okay. All right. So what I need all of you to do is, those of you who are joining in to support your friends or your family who is an author, you can turn on your video. If it's not convenient, that's also fine. We're going to give you about 4 to 5 seconds to turn on your virtual background if you want to be in the photo. All right. And here's how it works. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to ask all of you to start smiling. And it's fine. I can see Leanne, you have someone extra who wants to join in the video. That's perfectly fine. We can have 2 faces in there. That's okay. So if you want to join in, just join in. And I'm going to ask everyone to start smiling. And I need you to hold that smile until I finish a count of 5. All right, so everyone ready? Okay, so everyone smile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I think we got everyone. Levine, do we get everyone? Yes? Okay, great. All right, so Levine is offside and I'm just like listening to what she tells me through the headset. So we got everyone. Thank you all very much. That brings us to the end of the book launch for CIIM Volume 5. Yes, that's right. That's how you pronounce CIIM, CIIM, which in Singlish means very complicated. But the essays are far from complicated. They are actually very accessible, condensing what would otherwise be very dense topics, but in a readable manner, thanks to the efforts of our authors. So thank you all very much for joining us at the launch for CIIM Volume 5. Wherever you are, whatever time it might be, I wish you all of the best in your next endeavors. We hope to catch up with all the authors soon, definitely with our co-editors, and we'll see you guys around. So thank you all for joining. Have a good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Bye-bye.